Come on, don't please come on, don't please come on, don't please around you for your children.
Thank you very much, wherever you're joining from. I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you, depending on your time zone. I am Pastor Maxwell, and we're here. I trust God your day is going well. Welcome to this very first segment of our broadcast today. We are live and direct. Foreign military base, bandits, and northern leaders. Foreign military base, bandits, and northern leaders. That is the focus of the very segment of our broadcast. This is very important because of we have discovered that banditry and terrorism has become a franchise, and it has become a booming, a multi-billion naira, if not $1 billion industry. So lucrative nowadays. You know, in the northern part of the country of Nigeria, it has become so lucrative. There's been scores of different kind of abductions, banditries, terrorism, kidnapping for ransoms that, as I said yesterday, it was very, very obvious and in the news that there is a claim that the total sum so far within the space of 3 years accrued, gathered, earned, or should I say, obtained from the unsuspecting and innocent citizens of Nigeria. About 7,000 of them, according to the data, runs into about 11 billion naira. Only on kidnapping.
United Nations government has set him free. Let him go. Let him go.
Thank you very much for still being there with us. I am Pastor Maxwell Inouye. Foreign military base, bandits, and northern leaders, as I was saying minutes ago, it has become a very lucrative business. It has become banditry, terrorism has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. You know what is called security vote and also budgets. Every year, the country have different budgets for different ministries and different institutions of the government, running into billions, several billions. And the recent budget, that was a budget of 2024, was about, I can't place my hands on the exact figure now, but it runs into trillions. We don't know what will be the budget of 2025. It will also run into trillions. Naira has no more value. Logistics and different kind of budgeting in different kind of institutions and different kind of trainings of the personnel, security operatives, be it the military, be it the police, be it the SSS or the DSS or the civil defense, custom, immigration, air force, and all whatnot. And they will tell you, oh, you know that the spot of insecurity has risen so high, northeast, north central, or, the security there is nothing to write home about. We need to arm our men. We need Tucano aircraft or jet fighters. We need this. We need more tankers. We need more equipment. We need more bullets. We need guns. We need a lot. And so how much is the budget? Trillions, billions, several hundreds of billions. And the men at the top will have their own share. You've seen the video of the military men, the Nigerian military men, the personnel, making some videos complaining of their very pathetic, very, very deplorable condition in the different barracks or formations. Some of them, their salaries were not paid. We've seen them protest. Carrying placards. Those of them who are fighting Boko Haram in the Sambisa forest or other part of the north, in the northern, more especially the northeast and the north central, the northeast, the north central, the northwest, that where you have the highest record based on data of terrorism and banditry. We've seen some of these soldiers, some of these trained military personnel complaining, making videos. Some of them, they can't even feed properly. There is no motivation. There is practically no motivation. Those of them that died in active service, the families are not taken care of. After one or two announcements or media or press briefings or television appearances, all the promises that will be made in front of the camera on how the families will be taken care of. Most of the family members of these fallen heroes, being the military men or the police, those that died in active service fighting terrorism or banditry, most of the widows and their loved ones, their children that they left behind, have been crying, some protesting, some writing to different organizations for assistance, down to ordinary rent where they live, rentage. They don't even have a house of their own, many of them. Some of them, their children dropped out of school. Okay? So it has become an avenue for the looting spray of the government to continue. And that is why it's not going to stop, because of how Nigeria was put together. It is not going to stop because there are vested interests. And during the time of the former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, he actually said that Boko Haram are among his cabinet, that his cabinet members, some of them are sponsors of Boko Haram. Many of you are aware of that. Don't expect me to call names because you're aware of that. If you're not aware of it, go and do your research. You will find out. But that is the truth. The present vice president was accused, and then we learned that he traveled to Niger and spent some years there before he came back. Have you not heard about the FBI file, FBI report, releasing the name of some of the suspected, in quotes, suspected Boko Haram sponsors? There was no arrest, there was no prosecution. Nothing of such has happened. You know that the former military head of state of Nigeria, General Sani Abacha, said that any insurgency that lasts more than 24 hours, it means that the government is responsible. The hand of government is in it. Government has hand in it. In other words, it is politically motivated. Government, do you know what is government? Do you know what is government? The government of Nigeria during the time of Muhammadu Buhari in 2021 went all the way to Kenya to abduct Nnamdi Kanu and bring him back to Nigeria, breaking about 16 Cohen laws, international laws, to bring him to Nigeria. Yes, Nnamdi Kanu was sabotaged, but there are people that sold out his information. The same way that these bandits and terrorists can also be sabotaged. There are people that have their information in their palms, but they cannot give it out because these bandits are also giving them their own court. And they have the lion's share. Most of the time it has been reported that some of these assault rifles that they operate with are military assault rifles. How did they come to possess it? How did they manage to get it out of the armory? How were they so successful without an insider feeding them the information, or probably supplying it to them under a clandestine operation? How? Some of you heard about the military helicopter of one former military head of state. I won't mention the name, that was caught and was seized because it was supplying ammunition to the bandits, to the terrorists in the north. It is so amazing. And the same people will come and they will address the press and they will speak so tough. You will hear their voice, the way they are shouting, how they are threatening to deal with the bandit. They will decimate the bandit. They will decimate Boko Haram. They will destroy them, all their camps, area bombardments. Buhari said 6 months into his administration that he is going to exterminate. He is going to wipe out Boko Haram. That was what he vowed. That was what he pledged to Nigerians. And because he had the military background, he was a retired army general. He was a retired general. That was one of his selling points in his campaign promises. that Obama championed and supported all the way, and some gullible people, or should I say those who decided to align themselves to benefit from the injustice and illegalities of such process that brought him to power. That was what they championed. That he has the military background, that Goodluck Ebele Jonathan doesn't have the military background. He cannot be able to deal with the issues of insecurity. He cannot be able to wipe out Boko Haram. He's a civilian, he's a bloody civilian president. So he should get out of Asorok so that the general can come in to deal with Boko Haram. 8 years down the line, they continue to wax stronger. And there's now another franchise of the ISIS, which is ISWAP. When Jonathan was there was nothing like ISWAP. When Jonathan was there in office, there was no oppression, there was no havoc, there was no records of banditry in the north to this very scale. In fact, we are not even had about, there was no story, there was no news about bandits. What we had was the skirmishes of the killings of herdsmen and Boko Haram, And then what happened? Jonathan is out of office. How many years now? Buhari had done his 8 years, left office. What is the record of the decimation or the degradation of Boko Haram? It has become a multi-billion naira industry. And they use this to extort money from, foreign donors, foreign aids, IMF, they borrow money, World Bank, they borrow money from them, other organizations in form of aids, a lot is going on, and they are so having a nice time. And so they tend to keep this very banditry for as long a time as they wish to enjoy the benefits, the mouth-watering monetary benefits as much as they can. So this very article addresses this particular issue, and looking into foreign military base, bandits, and the northern leaders. This was written by in Walomhe Donald. Sorry if I mispronounce that very name. I'm not conversant with all the dialects in the country. So in Walomhe Donald, he wrote this very piece of article, and I'm going to be reading from it. And thank you once again for joining us. I am Pastor Maxwell, and we're here. It is interesting. Share the broadcast and also subscribe to my channel here on GeneSpeak. If you go to YouTube, my YouTube channel, Maxwell, and here, subscribe. Click on the notification button to be notified when a content is uploaded on that channel or when I go live. On X, you will find me there at Maxwell Nawihe. Instagram, Maxwell Nawihe. TikTok, Maxwell Nawihe. Facebook, my page is there, Maxwell Nawihe. I am bringing it to you. Northern leaders seem to have taken possession of the insecurity by trying to handle the perpetrators as some of their own, and by so doing, the region has become a net distributor of bandits to other parts of Nigeria and, in fact, Africa. The failure of leadership between the Hausa and Fulani elites has progressed to banditry and kidnapping in Northwest and Northeast Nigeria. As I mentioned minutes ago, I'm not going to do analysis on this because I've already done that before now. I take that very paragraph again. The failure of leadership between the Hausa and Fulani elites has progressed. I shouldn't call it failure. I should call it deliberate act of sabotage for vested or parochial interest or selfish interest, so destructive in nature. But albeit it is an article and I must read it out the way the author wrote it. The failure of leadership between the Hausa and Fulani elites has progressed to banditry and kidnapping in Northwest and Northeast Nigeria. Violence has had a far-reaching humanitarian and economic impact on the region and created a domino effect of security problems. Over last 15 years, thousands of people have been killed, mainly in northwest and northeast states, with millions of internally displaced and thousands fleeing into the Niger Republic, which is a neighboring country. Livestock and crops have been decimated, further depressing human livelihood indices that were already the country's lowest. The violence is aggravating other security challenges. It has forced more headers southward into country's middle belt. It has forced more headers because of these insecurities, more headers who are, I don't want to say anything. Let me remain focused within the circumference of this very article. More headers have been forced down to the south, down to the south, down to the southeast, down to the south. Okay. The middle belt, thus increasing headers farmer tension in that region and beyond. Not just tension, but incessant killings of the citizens or the indigenous farmers who are in these regions or in these localities where the headers have migrated to, with different dangerous weapons and assault rifles, AK-47. In May 2024, the Northern Elders wrote a letter to President Tinubu not to allow foreign military bases in the north. Not to allow foreign military bases in the north in order to cover up the leadership failure among the northern elites. Okay? I'm worried that northern elites have hidden agendas that foreign military bases would have exposed. I'm not the one saying this. I'm reading out an article that was written by Inwomhe Donald. Let me get that name correct again. Sorry, it's not easy. Inwalomhe Donald. Okay, we must continue. He said, I'm worried that northern elites have hidden agendas that foreign military bases would have exposed. A foreign military base can help part of northern Nigeria stabilize and stop further bandit attacks. A foreign military base would have stopped both ethnic groups, Fulani and Hausa, from importing mercenaries from Chad, Niger, Mali, and southern Sudan to prosecute what in itself has assumed a life of its own and may spread to other parts of Nigeria with grievous consequences on peace and stability in Nigeria. Northern elders would have written to President Tinubu on how to restore peace and order to the north, but instead they wrote about foreign military bases as if they were working with the military governments in the Niger Republic, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Okay. He continues, as security has deteriorated, the regions have steadily come under the renewed influence of jihadist groups, which have sometimes attacked security forces. The spike in jihadist activity in the northwest has raised fears that the region could soon become a land bridge connecting Islamic insurgencies in the Central Sahel with the decade-old insurgency in the Lake Chad region of northeastern Nigeria. Security sources point to a resurgence of the long-dormant Boko Haram splinter group, Jama'atu Ansarul Muslimina fi Biladis Sudan, group of partisans for Muslims in Black Africa. That is what it is. I think that should be I don't know whether it's an Islamic name or Arabic name, I don't know. Better known as Ansaru. That is the short form of the name of this very group, terrorist group, which was active in northwestern Nigeria between 2011 and 2014. Elements of other Boko Haram offshoots, notably the Islamic State in West Africa province, are arriving in the area. A poorly secured international boundary, meanwhile, enables the influx of arms and facilitates the movement of jihadists to and from the Sahel, where the Islamic State has been expanding its influence. Now, I'm going to bring part of this very article to the screen that you may also know that I'm not just reading this from my head or saying it from my head. It's an article. I'm bringing it to the screen immediately. You can see foreign military base, bandits, and northern leaders. So we continue from here. The violence is aggravating over security challenges. It has forced more headers southward into the country's middle belt, thus increasing header farmer tension in that region and beyond. Over the years, the northern political elite not only used the common Islamic heritage of the Hausa and the Fulani people as an instrument to construct and cement the notion of an undivided and indivisible Hausa Fulani identity. They also encouraged other parts of the country to see them as one undifferentiated people. In response to the rural and urban banditry by mostly Fulani brigands against Hausa people, Hausa people have formed vigilante groups called Yan Sakai or Yan Banga for self-defense. But Fulani people say the Yan Banga self-defense groups often indiscriminately murder innocent Fulani people who are not even remotely connected with abductions and murders. This has provoked an endless cycle of recriminations and retaliatory violence between Hausa and Fulani people, and is threatening the age-old Islam-inspired ethnic fusion between them. A bizarre event took place in Sokoto State recently. The Emir of Gobe, Issa Bawa, was kidnapped. His abductors demanded 60 million naira. The relatives were about to raise the funds after making contact with influential figures, including the governor of Sokoto State, Ahmad Aliyu Sokoto. Our source claimed the date for the payment of the ransom was near. Alas, the kidnappers murdered the emir in cold blood. Not done. The kidnappers insisted on being paid before they released the body of the emir of Gobe. The media, as usual, glossed over the issue, undermining the deep-seated impact on the social-political crisis in the northern Nigeria and the almost imminent prospect of its consuming the country. I hope you're following. Unknown to many observers, the murder of the emir of Gobe was the height of the smoldering intra-ethnic clashes between the Fulani and the Hausa, which observers claim has taken thousands of lives. In the past decade, even as the ruling class of both ethnic groups tries to subvert and gloss over the issue simply because they were not directly affected. That is how Nigeria functions, whether in the north or in the east or in the west or in the south. That is how Nigeria functions. The Hausa and Fulani are distinct ethnic groups, but in Nigeria, they found a common political destiny. They found a common political destiny in being referred to as Hausa Fulani. Hausa Fulani. In the past 3 decades, the years of misrule, poverty, hunger, exclusion, and deprivation by the ruling class in the north have exposed the internal contradictions, which for decades have been veiled under the cover of Islam. Yes, veiled under the cover of Islam. They claim to be one, but now it is very, very explicitly, it is so crystal clear that they are not. They are not one, and they can never be one. Hausas, more especially during the time of the former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, have come out openly to dissociate themselves, to distance themselves of the claim that has lasted over 40 to 50 years that they are one. They had so openly criticized and condemned the administration of Muhammad Buhari, distancing themselves from the Fulani origin or Fulani relationship. The knot that tied them together, they pulled it out, that they are no longer one. Of course, we know that the houses were conquered by the Fulanese. That is the history. That is the truth. And now it's becoming crystal clear that these people, they were forced together. In fact, Fulanese forced themselves on the house's identity, stealing the identity, using the identity undercover. And by the time they slowly, systematically conquered the entire place, they now brought out their own agenda as a distinct ethnic group. And the houses have no voice anymore. They have no voice anymore. So under the cover of Islam, they were Hausa Fulani. But now the veil has been removed. Everyone can see very clearly, including the Hausa peasants, including the Alamajiris. They understand very well that we are not one. If the Hausas and the Fulanis will, as of today, explain and express and expose their distinct ethnic identities, what about the entire Nigeria? How are we one as a country? How? If the Fulanis and the Hausas, who have the same religion, almost the same culture, not the same culture, but almost, they have cultural similarities, okay? If they can boldly come out today to claim their separate and to defend their distinct identities, that they are not one. So who is deceiving you that Nigeria is one? Who the hell is that? Who the hell is that? If you are just joining us, I am Pastor Maxwell and we're here. We speak the truth. I am looking into this very article objectively. I've done some analysis, and this very paragraph that I just took out of the screen, I'm going to read it again. The Hausa and Fulani are distinct ethnic groups, but in Nigeria, they found a common political destiny in being referred to as Hausa Fulani because of politics, because of the advantage, the proceeds of corrupt system, dysfunctional British contraption. Because of this, they formed, or not that they found, they formed it. Not that it wasn't existent. They formed it. They say, oh, because we are one in religion, we are one. We have cultural similarities. We can pull in the same direction. We can form a political party that we defend and protect our interest. You know, we are one. So the Fulani deceived the Hausas into believing. And as a matter of fact, they now went on with the name or the nomenclature or the acronym or the coinage, whichever you may. Hausa Fulani. Hausa Fulani. Common sense should tell you that this name is not one name. It's the infusion. It's a coinage of two different names. It's not organic. It's not indigenous. It's not authentic. It's not original. It's a coinage. In order to have a common front for political exploitations, advantages, and impositions. Hausa Fulani. Now, there's nothing like Hausa Fulani anymore. What we have is Hausa and Fulani different. The identities have been exposed, revealed. The agenda behind the coinages over the decades have been exposed, revealed. And I ask you again, if these two ethnic groups, Hausa Fulani, have come out to say, no, we are no longer one. Yes, we have deceived Nigerians into believing that we are one. We are not one. The reality is staring us in the face. More especially the Hausas who are now being conquered, who have been conquered, and they are now being persecuted, marginalized, killed and sacked from their indigenous settlements and hamlets and communities and states. They have come out to cry over the years that no, it was a mistake. We are forced into this union, into this collaboration, into this ethnic collaboration with the Fulanis. No, we are no longer one. They thought it was going to favor them, but after decades, it has dawned on them. The reality stares them in the face that no, you cannot continue to pretend and die in silence. Let the world know that you are not one. The question is this: if the Hausa Fulani today are known to be two distinct ethnic groups and they can no longer pull in the same direction, they can no longer cohabit. Are you understanding what I'm saying now? They can no longer stay together. There is all constant killings and banditry, terrorism against the Hausa, in their own indigenous communities and states and regions. How then will somebody deceive you? How then will somebody try to force you to believe, deceive you into believing that Nigeria is one and that Nigeria as a whole will remain one? It's a blatant lie. Nigeria has never been one. Nigeria can never be one. The earlier we all rise up the same time in unison with one voice to champion the cause for referendum that will split this very unworkable, this suppressive union, this exploitive union, this union that have not fared well for more than 100 years, the better for all of us. And that is why Nnamdi Kanu has been locked in the DSS dungeon in Abuja, Nigeria for the past 3 years. Locked down there. Between 2015 and 2017, he was locked away in the Kuje prison for 18 good months. From June 2021, this is about 3 years and about 3 months. 3 years to 3 years and 3 months, or 3 years and 4 months, based on the records, that he has been locked away in the DSS dungeon in Abuja, Nigeria. All the bail, all the applications, all the processes of the court that were in his favor, the government from the time of Muhammadu Buhari till today have constantly violated and flouted them because of what they tend to achieve. The corruption in the system is making them richer by the day. It's making even their little dogs in their compounds millionaires. You don't understand what I'm saying? Their chickens and their cows and their animals are becoming more millionaires than Nigerians themselves. The Hausa and Fulani are distinct ethnic groups, but in Nigeria, they found a common, or they formed a common political destiny in being referred to as Hausa Fulani. In the past 3 decades, the years of misrule, poverty, hunger, exclusion, and deprivation by the ruling class in the north, more especially the Fulanis, have exposed the internal contradictions, which for decades have been veiled under the cover of Islam. The kidnapping and killing of the Emir of Gobe is nothing but a brutal continuation of the bitter, bloody conflict between the two ethnic groups, more especially the Fulani having the upper hand in the conflict. The killing of the Emir of Gobe, Irohonodua, can authoritatively say will fuel further revenge killings unless the Hausa and Fulani leaders rise up to the occasion and stop pretending. The crisis is already spreading to other parts of northern Nigeria. The so-called bandits are essentially Hausa indigenous revolts or Fulani jihadists. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must call the Fulani and Hausa leaders together, identify the major grievances, and work out short-term, middle-term, and long-term solutions that would be both social, economic, and political. The National Assembly must also realize that the national question in Nigeria is real and has to be resolved before it is too late. Not before it is too late, it's already late. What they should be talking about now is referendum. Release Nnamdi Kanu. He is not a bandit, he's an activist. Thank you for watching, and bye bye from here.